Hello everyone, I'm Rupali Meshram. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Please subscribe my channel and press the bell icon for my latest updates. Good morning students. Today we are going to start with Geography, Chapter 3, Humidity and Clouds. Can you tell? Look at the picture shown in figure 3.1. Discuss the weather conditions shown in this picture in the class and write the description in the boxes below. One man and woman both are talking in first picture. It is very sunny today. The wind has stopped blowing. I foresee sandstorm. Let's go quickly inside the house. Yes, even I feel the same. Come, let's go fast. In the first picture, the desert region can be seen, for example, Rajasthan. Here, the sun is shining brightly and the air is dry and hot. There is very little moisture in the air. People wear loose cotton clothes in desert regions at certain times of the year. Sandstorms becomes more frequent because the strong heating of the air over the desert causes the lower atmosphere to become unstable. This instability leads to sandstorm. In second picture, two men are talking. Buddy, it is very hot today. Another person, yes Soham, I am literally soaked because of the sweat. In the second picture, two people are seen sweating. It means the air is hot and humid. Such type of weather is mainly seen in the coastal areas. For example, in Mumbai, if dark clouds cover the sky, the content of moisture in the air increases. In third picture, you can observe children are playing. Mother says, children, come fast. Wear your sweater and then play again. Mummy, please wait. Let us play, please. In the third picture, cold region is shown and children are playing in snow while their mother is asking them to wear sweaters. This means that in this region, the air is cold and dry. In order to protect themselves from severe cold, people cover themselves with warm clothes. For example, Kashmir Valley. Geographical explanation. Generally, we keep talking about the weather conditions. We can identify the weather conditions through the conversation above. We experience the dampness or dryness in the air throughout the year. The changes occurring in this weather condition in desert areas, coastal areas and mountainous areas is evident from the figures. First figure, Rajasthan lies in a region with dry and hot air. There is hardly any moisture in the air. People wear loose cotton clothes. Kashmir Valley lies in a region with cold and dry air. Moisture is minimal in the air. People cover themselves with warm clothes. In Mumbai, the air is hot and humid. That the proportion of moisture is very high in the air. In addition, if dark clouds cover the sky, the content of moisture in the air increases. In the above discussion, the word hot, moist, cold, etc. show the condition of the air. They relate to the content of the moisture in the air. Moisture in the air is invisible, but it is the major component of air which is taken into consideration while discussing the weather of any place. For precipitation to occur in any place, presence of moisture in the air is very important. Think about it. During winters, when you exhale on the glass of your mirror, what happens? If you try to do this in summer, why doesn't this happen? Can you tell? Yes, during winter, when I exhaled on the mirror, I could see vapor on it. This happened because in winter the mirror is cold and the exhaled air is comparatively hotter. So, when the exhaled air comes in contact with the cold surface, like mirror, condensation takes place. In summer, the weather outside is hot and so condensation does not take place. Evaporation. Evaporation is the process of converting water into steam or water vapor. Because of the sun's heat, the water on the earth gets converted into water vapor. The process of evaporation is dependent on the dryness, temperature, and the speed of the wind. If the air is dry and hot, the rate of evaporation increases. The process of evaporation continues even in dry and cold air. On the other hand, evaporation occurs when slowly in moist air. If the velocity and temperature of the air is high, then evaporation occurs rapidly. If the wind is blowing slowly and the air is cooler, then evaporation occurs slowly. Use your brain power. First one, in which season do the clothes dry fast? Can you tell the answer? Yes, correct. The clothes dry fast in summer season because the rate of evaporation is more when the air is dry and hot. Second question, in which season do the clothes take time to dry? What could be the reason? Yes, in monsoon season, the clothes take maximum time to dry. This is because evaporation occurs slowly in moist air. Relative humidity is more, so the air is moist. Humidity in the air. The proportion of water vapor in the air is called its humidity. The dryness or dampness of the air depends on the proportion of water vapor. Air can hold moisture in specific quantity at specific temperature only. As air cools down, its moisture holding capacity reduces. This implies that warmer air can hold more moisture than cold air. At a certain temperature, the moisture holding capacity of air becomes equal to the proportion of moisture present in it. This condition of the air is called saturation of the air. Try this. Carry out the following activity at your home. Take a colander, tray which is deeper in the center. Take a piece of sponge. On the flat part of the tray, make holes with the help of nails. Keep the spoon on the center of the tray colander. Make sure there is no water in the sponge. Pour water on the sponge with a big spoon. The students have to note down how many spoons of water have been poured. Keep pouring water with the spoon till the sponge becomes wet with water. Note what happens if you keep pouring water even after that. Now answer the following question. Observe the activity and try to answer the questions. Your answer should be, for first question, what happened to the water which was poured initially? The water which was poured initially was absorbed by the sponge. Second one, when you were pouring water on the sponge, what did you expect? When I was pouring water on the sponge, I expected that it will continue absorbing water. Third question, what happened when you poured more water on the sponge? When I poured more water on the sponge, drops of water started falling out of it as the sponge was full of water. Fourth question, what conclusion can you draw from this? From this, it can be concluded that the water holding capacity of the sponge is over, which means it is saturated. Geographical explanation. Let's suppose that the air is like the piece of sponge. How many spoons of water does the sponge absorb? After the sponge is full of water, drops of water start trickling out. One can tell the number of sponge of water required to make the water trickle down the sponge by observation. This implies that the water holding capacity of the sponge is fulfilled. This makes it saturated. Similarly, when the proportion of moisture in the air exceeds in its vapor holding capacity, precipitation in the form of rain or snow occurs on the earth. The moisture holding capacity of the earth depends on its temperature. Higher the temperature, higher is the holding capacity. We have learned earlier that as we go higher in the sky, the air becomes cooler. So, as per this rule, as we go higher, the vapor holding capacity of the air will decrease. The following table will make it clear. Give it a try. The vapor holding capacity of 1 cubic meter of air in various temperature is given here. Calculate the difference in the capacities by observing the table. First column, temperature of the air in degrees Celsius. Vapor holding capacity, gram per meter cube. Difference in the capacity, gram per meter cube. First one, minus 5. 3.26 is the vapor holding capacity. So the difference in the capacity will be dash. If the temperature is 0 and vapor holding capacity is 4.85, then the difference in the capacity is 1.59. If the temperature of the air is 5 degrees Celsius, then the vapor holding capacity will be 6.80 grams per meter cube. Then the difference in the capacities will be 1.95 grams per meter cube. If the temperature of the air is 10 degrees Celsius, then the vapor holding capacity will be 9.40 grams per meter cube. And the difference in the capacity will be 2.6 gram per meter cube. If the temperature of the air is 15 degrees Celsius, then the vapor holding capacity will be 12.83 grams per meter cube. And the difference in the capacities will be 3.43. If the temperature is 20 degrees Celsius, then the vapor holding capacity will be 17.30 grams per meter cube. And then the difference in the capacities will be 4.47 grams per meter cube. If the temperature is 30 degrees Celsius, then the vapor holding capacity will be 30.37 grams per meter cube. And the difference in the capacities will be 13.07 grams per meter cube. If the temperature of the air is 40 degrees Celsius, vapor holding capacity will be 51.12 grams per meter cube. And the difference in the capacities will be 20.75 grams per meter cube. At 15 degrees Celsius, the capacity of 1 cubic meter air is to hold 12.8 grams of moisture. If this amount of vapor is present in the air is said to be saturated. This humidity in the air is expressed in different ways. Absolute humidity. The amount of water vapor in 1 cubic meter of air is the absolute humidity of the air. For example, the absolute humidity of the air near coastal areas is higher than air in the interior. Absolute humidity is higher in the equatorial areas, while it reduces as we move towards the poles. The distribution of land and water on earth and the seasons also affect absolute humidity. Use your brain power. First one, in which season is humidity generally more? Answer is, humidity is generally more in monsoon season. Second question, how does humidity affect the human body? Answer is, high humidity as well as low humidity has an adverse effect on the human body. When the humidity in the air is high, the warm moisture stays on the skin longer, making human feels even hotter. Moreover, the temperature of the body actually rises and the bodies compensate by working harder and harder to cool us down. When sweating does not work to cool us down and we continue to heat up, overheating results which causes loss of water, salt and chemicals that the body needs. Low humidity can disrupt the moisture balance and cause itching or even watery eyes. Many suffer with dry, scaly, itchy skin during winter month. Aside from the itching, dry air draws moisture out of the skin, making small cracks on the skin's surface. Third question, observe how humidity affects the food materials at our home. Answer is, when humidity is high, the food materials become stale in a very short time and so have to be consumed within a shorter period of time. When humidity is less, food materials can stay fresh for a longer time. Fourth question, is there a relation between the formation of fungus and humidity? Answer is yes. There is close relation between the formation of fungus and humidity. Moisture and temperature influence the growth of fungus. When the amount of moisture in the air is more and the temperature is between 25 degrees Celsius and 30 degrees Celsius, fungus is formed. Fifth question, how is the early or late drying up of clothes related to humidity? Answer is, if the humidity level is high, clothes will take longer time to dry, whereas if the humidity is less, clothes will dry quickly. Relative humidity. The amount of water vapor present in air can be expressed as percentage of the amount needed for saturation at the same temperature and same volume. It is expressed in percentage. The formula is given for relative humidity. Absolute humidity divided by vapor holding capacity into 100. This is the formula to find out relative humidity into percentage. Two problems are given. First problem is, what will be the relative humidity of air whose absolute humidity is 20 grams per meter cube and vapor holding capacity is 30 grams per meter cube? Answer is, here they had given absolute humidity equals to 20 grams per meter cube and the vapor holding capacity equal to 30 grams per meter cube. To find relative humidity in percentage, formula is given. Relative humidity is equal to absolute humidity divided by vapor holding capacity into 100. So 20 is the absolute humidity and 30 is vapor holding capacity. So we have to do 20 divided by 30 into 100. After calculation, you will get relative humidity in percentage, that is 66.7%. Problem number 2. If the absolute humidity of the air is 15 grams per meter cube and the vapor holding capacity is 15 grams per meter cube, then what is the relative humidity of the air? Here they had given absolute humidity equals to 15 grams per meter cube. Vapor holding capacity equal to 15 grams per meter cube. To find is relative humidity in percentage. For relative humidity finding, they had given the formula relative humidity equal to absolute humidity divided by vapor holding capacity into 100. So, absolute humidity is 15 and vapor holding capacity is also 15. So, 15 divided by 15 into 100. So, we will get the answer of relative humidity in percentage is 100%. The amount of water vapor changes according to difference in temperature. Similarly, relative humidity also changes generally. Relative humidity is more in the morning and night. In the afternoon, as temperature increases, relative humidity decreases. Near coastal areas, the relative humidity is more and so the air is moist. In desert areas, relative humidity is less. Think about it. What will happen if the temperature of saturated air at 20 degrees Celsius drops down to 10 degrees Celsius abruptly? Answer is, if temperature of saturated air at 20 degrees Celsius drops to 10 degrees Celsius, the saturated air will reach dew point and condensation of water vapor will start. This may finally lead to precipitation. Hello everyone, I am Rupali Meshram. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Please subscribe my channel and press the bell icon for my latest updates. Try this. The students have to do the activity under the supervision of the parents carefully. See figure 3.4 of the textbook. Take water in a pressure cooker. Take off the whistle of the pressure cooker. Now, heat the cooker. Take a lead with a handle. After the water starts boiling, hold the lead at a distance from where the steam is coming out. Observe what happens. You will observe after the water started boiling and the lead is held at a distance from where the steam is coming out, we see that the water droplets are deposited on the lead. This is because after the water was heated, water changed into water vapor. This vapor turned into water droplets. When it touched the cooler lead, this means that the steam from the cooker cooled and condensed into water droplets. For next activity, take a glass with flat bottom. Put some ice cubes in it. Keep this glass in a room for 2 to 3 minutes. What did you see? Answer is, when the glass filled with ice cubes was kept in a room for 2 to 3 minutes, in sometimes water droplets were seen on the outer surface of the glass. This happened because when the water vapor in the air came in contact with the cold surface, condensation took place. This implies that the vapor in the air condensed into water droplets. Condensation, densification, sublimation. The process of changing of water vapor in the air into water is called condensation or densification. Also, the process of vapor changing into solid state is called sublimation. If the temperature of the air reduces, its vapor holding capacity also reduces. When relative humidity of the air becomes 100%, vapor starts condensing. At this time, the temperature of the air should be at dew point. It implies that for condensation, temperature should be low and relative humidity must be high. In the free environment, Condensation of the vapor in the air occurs around fine particles like dust, salt, etc. in the air. Dew, frost and fog are the forms of condensation at ground level, while clouds are a form of condensation at higher elevation. Always remember, there is a difference between fog and smog. Fog is made of vapor in the air only. Smog is a combination of dust particles of polluted air in the region and fog. Clouds and types of clouds. Clouds are form of condensation at higher elevation. Condensation occurs around minute particles in the atmosphere. Condensed water or snow particles in the clouds are very fine and almost weightless, and so clouds float in the sky. In the air, see figure 3.7. Raindrop. Raindrop maximum diameter is 5 mm. Fine particles, as the measurement is given that they are very fine, and the condensed water particles in the cloud are bigger than the fine particle. Land and water get heated because of the heat of the sun. Air near the surface heats up, rises and becomes less dense. Hot air rises up as it goes higher. The temperature of the air reduces and the moisture holding capacity of the air reduces. Relative humidity keeps changing. The vapor holding capacity in the atmosphere turns into water and snow. This is the dew point. Level of that air, the level of condensation is determined by the water vapor in the air. Keep in mind that the freezing point is also dependent on the altitude and water vapor. Because of condensation, fine particles of ice and water float in the air at a greater height. They accumulate around dust particles in the air and becomes large in size. Their accumulation together is called a cloud. Because of vertical flow of the wind, they float in the atmosphere like a kite, which floats in the air as it moves higher and higher. The clouds too float in the atmosphere because of vertical flow. Clouds are found at different altitudes about mean sea level. Clouds which form a greater altitude are formed from very fine snow particles. The process of evaporation and condensation occur consequently in the clouds. Specific type of clouds cause rainfall on the earth. The proportion of vapor is more near the earth's surface. As we go higher away from the sea level, the amount of vapor decreases. Hence, the clouds at a lower altitude are large in size, while the clouds at a higher altitude are smaller. Cloud types according to international classification. Types of clouds. General altitude in meters. Cirrus, cirrostratus, cirrocumulus. Its general altitude in meters is 7,000 to 14,000. Altostratus, altocumulus. Their general altitude in meters is 2,000 to 7,000 meters. Stratocumulus, stratus, nimbostratus, cumulus, cumulonimbus. Here it is less than 2000, and cumulus and cumulonimbus, its extent could be variable. Clouds are formed at different altitudes in the atmosphere. After observation, we can divide these clouds into three main types on the basis of their altitude. The height from the base of the clouds is taken into consideration if the clouds are at an altitude of 7,000 to 14,000 meter. Then they are considered as very high clouds. If they are at an altitude of ground 2,000 to 7,000 meter, then they are considered to be medium clouds. If they are at an altitude of less than 2,000 meter, then they are low clouds. See figure 3.8. High clouds. These clouds are mainly made up of ice particles. They can be classified into cirrus, cirrocumulus, and cirrostratus. Cirrus clouds are mainly wispy. Cirrocumulus clouds look like groups of small waves. Cirrostratus are like a bed sheet with wrinkles. They generally have a halo around them. Medium clouds. These include altocumulus and altostratus. Altocumulus are in the form of layers and have a wave-like structure. They are mostly white in color and have a grey shade. Altostratus are not very thick. The sun can be seen through them as if seen through a milky glass. Low clouds. These consist of 5 types of clouds. Stratocumulus have layers. Their color is white to earthy. Round clusters of clouds can be here. Stratus clouds also have layers. They are ash colored and their base is uniform. Nimbostratus has thick layer. They are grey ash in color and cause continuous rainfall and even snowfall. Cumulus clouds. These clouds are formed extensively from 500 meter to 6,000 meter altitude. The vertical flow of the air adds to the formation of these clouds. These are huge and dome-shaped. They are grey in color. Cumulus clouds are an indicator of pleasant weather. The vertical expanse of these clouds increases so much that they turn into cumulonimbus clouds and bring rain. Cumulonimbus clouds. These are characteristic clouds which are indicators of thunderstorm. These look like huge mountains. These are dense and dark in color. There is thunder accompanied by lightning. They bring rain with storm and may sometimes bring hailstones. But such a type of rain does not last long. See figure 3.9. The largest of these clouds bring rainfall accompanied with lightning. The top portion of these clouds has an anvil-like shape. The clouds have a positive charge at the upper end and negative charge at the lower end. The land below them always has negative charge. Due to difference in the charges, electric charges are formed and lightning occurs, lighting up the sky for a moment. The air around the lightning rises up because of the heat and this leads to a large thunder sounding. As compared to other clouds, the raindrops of these clouds are larger because they move up and down a lot of times and accumulate more and more water. Drops become larger and larger and are unable to float in the cloud because of their weight. They fall in the form of rain. Sometimes the air in the clouds is very cold. As a result, these drops freeze and fall in the form of hail. We call them hailstones. Do you know? Cloudburst is a type of precipitation Raindrops coming towards the earth are stopped in the cloud itself. Because of strong vertical winds, these drops change into hail. This makes the clouds heavier. The vertical winds are unable to bear this weight. This leads to heavy rainfall with large size hail. This is called cloudburst. It leads to a rainfall of more than 100 millimeter in a small area or particular region. This type of precipitation mainly occur in mountainous regions. The states through which the Himalayan ranges pass experience such a type of rainfall.